why I brought Candace Owens on here is because I really think she have profound knowledge in certain areas, you know, pertaining to the Black community. And obviously I felt like just watching her videos, I could see that she's enlightened about things, take things and explain things in a very intelligent way with good knowledge, good common sense. So that's why I brought her on here. But the subject matter, and you guys can read it, we're going to talk about the effects of hip hop music, primarily in the African-American community. So I'm just going to give a quick dialogue. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit, and I'm going to put the mic or give the mic to Candace. So I believe that music is profound. Any genre is profound. You can't go to the dentist's office. You can't go on an elevator. You can't watch credits in a movie. You can't do almost anything in this country or in this world that involves anything without music. And I think music can affect you subconsciously. It can be positive and it can be negative depending on how you use it. And this is what brings me to the point of hip hop music. I'm not saying that all hip hop music is bad. Not every artist is bad. Not every artist is sending people in a downward spiral. But what I am saying is that in 2018 and moving forward, hip hop has taken a negative turn, in my opinion. And not just in 2018, but we can see that progression moving forward, that it has taken a bad turn and it has had a negative influence in our culture, perpetuating promiscuity, perpetuating murder, perpetuating hatred and aggression. Those things, I think that they have been very, very negative. So what I'm gonna do, as soon as I get these comments up, which should come up in a few seconds, and we're gonna put it on here. So Candace, just in your opinion, what do you think, or how do you think hip hop music affects the inner city communities?
It's a great question. So I think that we have to very clearly define what hip hop music is, because like you said, it seems to have taken a dark turn, right? We're no longer in the days of Biggie Smalls, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. It's about something that is a lot darker. I think when you think about hip hop music, it really is a study on culture. And I talk about culture all the time because it's very important to understand that he who runs culture sort of runs the minds of everybody beneath the umbrella of culture, right? So that's why you see in my videos, I've attacked Jay-Z and Beyonce, because I understand that they have been running culture for so long that people have abandoned their sense of individualism in favor of whatever they put out, whatever they promulgate in the media. And that's a huge problem. So for me, I loved hip hop growing up. I'm a huge hip hop fan. I used to idolize Jay-Z. So it was a very hard video for me to make, more than people understand. I was that girl that was listening to every Jay-Z album backwards and forward. When my uncle introduced me to him, I thought his music was so profound. So when I think about why I thought his music was so profound, it was because there was a struggle in it that I could relate to, right? And in that regard, music is necessary because it allows people to escape from whatever they're going through. That can be, like you said, it can be maybe it's not the hood, maybe it's not the projects, maybe it's just heartache, right? And people listen to Taylor Swift in their room and dance around, and now they feel better because she goes through it too. So hip hop, when you're talking about the inner city communities, the launch point is understanding that it becomes an escape for them to say, I relate to this person, right? Cardi B started as a stripper and had absolutely nothing in her life, and she had to work very hard to get to where she's at. So how many people are living that lifestyle where they have, their opportunities are none, right? They feel like they have no future. So she becomes this person that they look to, right? And that's necessary. I think that component of it is very necessary, because otherwise I think we'd have dramatically different, increased suicide rates when people feel like they have no escape and nobody understands what they're going through. So when it's telling a story that you can relate to, it's necessary. But then there's a darker term when people don't see it as, I made it out, and they see it as what you're talking about, which is, I want to be that, right? So when Jay-Z talks about selling drugs, and he might, the lesson in his song, which many of them were, was that he made it from there and now he's here. But somebody else is focused on where he's at, right? And they think this is so cool, the glory of this, because he's making it sound cool. That's what we're seeing happen in inner city communities, where we're seeing people that are actively trying to pursue this lifestyle because somehow it's been made cool.
Right. And I agree with you 100%. I think that young, impressionable people, or impressionable people who are young in these communities, especially when you talk about the issues of not having fathers in the home or not having a male role model. Because even in some cases where some of these young people have daddies, their daddies are in the home, but not in the home, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yep.
They're not involved in their lives. So you have these impressionable young kids who grow up at, 15, 14, I don't know, 12 years old, and they are thinking about their futures. And they see people who are getting all the fame, all the credentials, the love, the respect from women, all of these things young people see. And then they begin to say, well, I'm going to put aside, my dreams and aspirations of becoming a doctor, possibly. And I'm going to look at the guy who mostly closely identifies with who I am or who I feel that I am. And then I may be attracted to that. And then the thug life mentality or lifestyle becomes appealing. And we used to see hip hop artists who would be, social consciousness would be what they would project in their music. Some of them would, like I think of Common Sense, I think of Talib Kweli and some other guys who were a little bit more conscious in their rap music. And now the people who are popular are literally encouraging young people to want to floss, to have gold chains, and they're not really projecting things into their minds that are productive. When you listen to something perpetually over and over and over again, you become brainwashed. And I think that's kind of what we see that is going on.
Right.
And so what I want to ask you, Candace, and kind of jump to another question is that, what do you think we can do? Like, first of all, who is to blame? And then what do you think we can do to fix this situation and try to get our young people to have more of a profound influence outside of the toxic music, or even change the toxic music?
It's so important, and it's so timely that you're asking me this question, because I'm about to launch a really big project that's sort of underground at the moment. But I talk about these issues all the time. So first things first, you have to understand, why is the left in bed with culture, right? Like, why is the left controlling Hollywood? Why do the Oscars happen and it seems like we're just watching a propaganda show, right? It's because they understand just what you spoke about, the brainwashing element. They understand that they've created these things. And the most important thing you said here is that that dad is gone. So what happens here is that Black people don't actually understand or know their history, right? They think LBJ was a good president, right? It was just released. Nobody talked about it. CNN didn't talk about it, that LBJ was in fact in the KKK. And what did he give us with his Great Society Act, okay? Great Society Act, welfare, the welfare system. What is wrong with the welfare system is that it incentivizes women not to marry their husband. It takes away the father from the home, right? If you want to break down any community, all you have to do is break down the family first, okay? And that's exactly what they did. That is why Black people are, in every statistic, worse off today than we were 60 years ago, right? America is for certain not a more racist country today than it was 60 years ago. And yet we are worse off, and it's because we started this system of government dependency. And government dependency took away our fathers. And once the fathers were removed, we had to look for new idols, because no matter what, people are going to look for that element of fatherhood. So what do they start to look to? Hip hop, right? But Biggie and Tupac, right? And then it turns into Jay-Z and Beyonce became mom and dad because their families were taken away from them, right? So that's the most important thing is there needs to be a re-education, because the big problem with the left right now is that they're controlling not just media and culture in Hollywood, but they're controlling the academia. So we're learning our history the wrong way. So it's hard for people to put the pieces together, right? How do we take it back? All right, well, it starts with re-educating people. It starts with giving people new idols and different alternatives, because growing up, all I knew was Democrat. I'm sure you too. We both, can consider ourselves to be quite liberal, right? And here we are talking about topics that Black people are not allowed to talk about, or else we're called traitors, Uncle Toms, and coons. There was an awesome article by Herman Cain, and I tell everybody to go read it, whether you're white, Black, Spanish, and it's called, it's about, it's time for coons or Uncle Toms to stand up. That is really what we're at right now, okay? People need to stop being afraid of these terms, and stop being afraid of being called a traitor, a coon, or an Uncle Tom. And we have to start speaking out. We got to start making channels. We have to start providing the alternative, because right now they're locked into only one version of events.
Right. And I love that you said that about changing the narrative and being accountable for the things that we are projecting. I honestly believe that we have to start, as a culture, holding these rappers accountable, because I think hip hop music has been profoundly powerful, but in the hands of people who are not taking care of the beauty of it, the influence of it can really turn, it into something evil. So we have to hold people accountable, just like we need to hold the Democratic Party accountable. We need to hold some of these rappers accountable and say, look, you are teaching our young people things that are counterproductive in their growth. We cannot just pass it off and say, oh, it's just music. Yeah, maybe to people who don't live in the hood or people who don't live in these communities, it's entertainment as music. But I know young people that live in the hood that when you talk about drive-by shootings, when you talk about selling bricks and cocaine, I got family members in prison right now because of those things.
Right.
And I think that it's invaluable for us if we say that we care about our communities. And this is not just Black people doing this. This can be anybody who care about the inner city communities, is to start calling out Lil Wayne and some of these other rappers and telling them, like, look, man, you have the power in your hands to change a generation of people. Right. You talk about, you know, the manipulation of the white man or whatever the case that people want to bring up. It's like, but you have the power. You have the ear of the hood. You have the ear of all of these young people. How about you tell them that prison isn't somewhere that you want to go? It's not productive in, you know, the recidivism rate and some of these other things. Talk about finding positive male influences. Right. The problem is that there's two people that don't care about the Black community. And that is the people who pay these rappers and these record labels, and then the rappers themselves. All they care about is money. Right. And I think that when we address it as a people, and when we confront them and say, you know, no, you're not going to come and rap that that concert. I'm not going to pay for you to come on campus to rap this. I'm not going to pay for you to have this venue. I'm not going to send my kids to that, because you're hurting and damaging their minds. So I think that rap and politics can be a very, very closely related. And I think obviously music is a lot more powerful than politics, but it can be closely related to what we see as being false or a negative contribution. You know, obviously rap is not the only thing that's affecting the inner city community.
It's more. And a great study on this is understanding what happened to Black TV. Right. So it wasn't just that he enacted the Great Society Act. Right. They also changed Black TV. Right. When I was growing up late night, Nick at Night, I was watching The Jeffersons. Right. Dr. Huxtable, The Cosby Show. It was all about Black families, that they were together as a unit. There was humor. They were always successful. Right. They were doctors. They had good jobs. Now think about what's on TV for Black people. Love and Hip Hop is the #1 show. Love and Hip Hop. Right. And I'm not going to lie. I've seen so many seasons of it because my cousin watches it. And when I watch it, the show it's addicting. It's addicting. I'm telling you, like, if I wasn't me, I'm not a person who looks at things objectively and goes, what's that I just watched? You can watch the entire season in one sitting because there's something that's so appealing about the drama of it all, right? About this rapper hooking up with this person and cheating on this person. He has how many baby mamas? That is what Black people are getting addicted to right now. But that's systematic to understand that they took away real Black TV. They took away idols. They took away Dr. Huxtable going, oh, one day I'm going to be a doctor. Instead, people think one day I'm going to make it. I'm going to sell my rap tape. Oh, I'm going to have baby mamas. And that's the new thing that's become cool. So it's a larger thing. And I'm telling you, it was evil and it was systematic. And it's why I so attack the Democratic Party. And I attack this narrative every single day because they created this. This was not by accident. This was by design.
Right. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, probably on every point you've made. And it is by design, because if you can perpetuate young African-American people into a cycle of dependency, whether it be brainwashing them through music, whether it be brainwashing them through politics or brainwashing them, giving them handouts, or brainwashing them to lead them to believe that the Ku Klux Klan have enough power today to enslave Black people if the Democratic Party don't save us.
Right.
If you are hell bent on conditioning a group of people to be that way, because we both know that a lot of times this happens because they want to vote. I don't think it's just the malicious of destroying the people, but they don't really care so much about the people, so they want the vote. They want the vote from illegals. They want the vote from Black people and minorities. Right. And that's their whole striving goal.
Absolutely. And you notice the focus is shifting. Right? The focus is shifting. Like once it was Black people, but now they're starting to look at illegals and immigrants and Mexicans. And that's because the fastest growing population in the United States is the Latina population, right? Like they are taking over by 60%. The margin is 60%, right? That every time the population grows, 60% of them are Latinas. That's a huge margin, because what happened with Black people is that not only did they take away our parenting, they also convinced us that abortion was the only was the only way to deal with things. I talk about this all the time. They have literally, it was created by Margaret Sanger. She's on file as a racist. She talked about eugenics she would go to the Black community and teach them, oh, you can't afford to have your kids, so abortion is the safe option, this and that. This was all about purifying. This was racial. This was called eugenics. She created this and propagated it, and she was considered an idol by Hillary Clinton. 17 million Black babies aborted since 1973. That's near half the Black population. Black people don't know this. This is why when I say, do not talk to me about Black Lives Matter until Black Lives Matter is sitting outside of the door of Planned Parenthood boycotting it, until Black Lives Matter is standing with March for Life, I cannot hear you. You are instead hyper-focused on the 16 Black males that are killed by police officers every year. That accounts for 0.00004% of the Black population. And you want me to be outside rioting for that? It's ridiculous. They've completely narrowed our focus because they've hijacked things, and what they're really good at when we talk about by design is linguistics. They make everything sound so appealing, right? Planned Parenthood. Right? That sounds great. You're planning parenthood, right? You're not planning parenthood if you're aborting your fetus. That doesn't even make any sense. Every single dude, that's really what they have been so successful at. And you almost have to tip your hat to them because they make everything sound so delicious and appetizing that why wouldn't you side with them? Why wouldn't you side with them? They're trying to help you. Welfare. They care about your welfare. That's enslavement. They've enslaved Black people to the government. So, I mean, look, it's an uphill battle, but it's something that I think people like you and I are just like, we're ready to fight it.
Right. And I'm glad that we are. And I think a lot of other people who are watching this, I'm looking at the comments, that they're glad that we're speaking out about this, because I think that the norm, it should be the norm, to be honest. Like young African-American people like you and I should be the norm. We are, the terms that some, I guess, hip hop people like to use is woke. Like we are woke to the real facts. We're not woke to the fabricated reality that they want us to believe, but we're woke to the real facts. I honestly believe that hip hop is only one aspect of the topic that we're discussing and how we can regain the growth potential that we once had as African-American people. And I think that if we don't take a stand now, if we don't start speaking out about this and being brave in the face of ridicule, that we're never going to actually get over the hump. Young people need to really watch this. And I hope that if you guys are watching this now, I mean, even if you're the young person I'm talking to, or just anybody who just love to hear me and Candace talk, push the like button so that, that people can start seeing this video and it can be pushed out, because we need young people to hear this, to hear an alternative perspective. And I think Candace would agree with me on this, is that growing up, I only saw one perspective. I only saw an Afrocentric ideology, and I didn't see what else the world had to say. And I was driving from Tucson earlier, and all I could think about, because I heard a guy talking and he was blaming white people once again. And one thing that I thought about, and Candace, you could probably touch on this a little bit, is that I honestly believe, out of all the things that I've seen, out of all the people that I've been around, all the businessmen, businesswomen, I honestly believe that Black people need to wake up and realize that white people are not worried about Black people as much as we think that they are.
Right.
Because they're busy having businesses, they're busy doing other things to be worried about 13% of the population who is in fact killing themselves.
Smaller, right? And getting smaller, and that's it. There are people that understand, and this is something that the Democrats left have done very successfully, is that they understand that they have to keep the boogeyman of racism alive to be successful, right? It is ridiculous that 90% plus more, right, depending on what year it is, 90% of Black people vote Democrat. What does that say to you? We don't have our own minds. We're a monolith, right? You look at the white community, they're split. Some vote this way, some vote that way. That means they have their own mind. They're doing better in this country. People that look at white people and pretend that they are the enemy, it's a joke. They're so uneducated. They're just uneducated. Because if white privilege existed, then you have to explain to me why nobody talks about the Asians in this country, right? The Asians were being persecuted in this country during World War II, were sent to internment camps. They are the #1 race in this country that is doing the best in every regard. Talking about education, talking about business, Asians are doing the best. And you want to know why? Because there was no narrative that was sold to them. They just worked hard and got themselves out of it. Okay, there is no Asian culture in here that convinces them that they have an enemy or this or that. And that's what Black people are subscribing to. So when they have issues, they say, the issue is that the white man did this, the white man did that. No, the issue is that This system was created for us, and we don't understand the system because they own the academia. We are learning our history wrong. There are Black people that actually think, still to this day, that the Democratic and the Republican parties switched. Total myth. Could not be more wrong, that it was a strategy during Nixon's presidential campaign. They need to download, and not download, to go onto YouTube and watch PragerU's video breaking down this myth. It's common sense and it's facts, right? So you have to understand what we're asking them to do when you say everything that you knew was a lie, because I had to accept that. That's a hard pill to swallow, right? You have to suffer through cognitive dissonance. You have to be willing to look yourself in the face and say, I was wrong. That's a very humbling experience to know that yesterday you were calling all these people racist and today you realize that you were completely wrong. So you have to take a step back from your ego and be willing to learn something else. And many people are not willing to do that.
Yeah, I had to do that. That pill was hard to swallow. I had went years. I wish that people can go back and look at my MySpace account. I think I have MySpace or something. My MySpace account. I think I had a Facebook that ended up getting deleted a long time ago. I wish people can go back. And there's people that's watching this that knew me when I was in college. I had gold teeth in my mouth. I was sagging my pants. I got Young Savage tattooed across my stomach right now. And so when I'm making these statements about hip hop music and the influence and the fact that I felt that I was lied to about the Democratic Party and all these things, I'm not saying, this is my dad's favorite quote, and I'll remember this for the rest of my life. He always tell me, I'm not telling you something I read in a book, Brandon. I'm telling you what I know. Right. And when I'm talking about these subjects, I'm talking about what I know. And we have to be willing. It's hard. I'm not telling every young person that's watching this to just blatantly slap their parents in the face and walk out of the house and say, I'm a new man, I'm growing up and I'm changing, but be open-minded to understanding both sides of the argument. You know, the Democratic Party has their rhetoric. Take some time and look at what the Republicans are actually doing and saying. I remember, and I told my dad this, and I know that they knew about it, but I feel like it's not fresh on their mind when you talk about the civil rights movement, you talk about Jim Crow, you talk about segregated schools, and you say, what party was behind that? What party was pushing against the civil rights movement? And it was the Democratic Party.
Everything. It was all them. They were against and opposed to our rights, and then they were able to successfully rewrite history in the 60s. And that is what we have today. That is the predicament that we fight today, is that they rewrote history. And it's amazing when you talk about that, and sorry for cutting you off, but when you talk about that, like the battle that we face is because they're unwilling to even try to digest a different perspective, right? What I get all the time, the hate that I get is like, oh, you're on Fox News, you're a sellout. Selling to what? You do not get paid to go on Fox News. Like, people don't even understand how things work, right? I'm out there to get my message out there so you can accept it, right? I don't make a paycheck. I work for a charity, right? Like they don't get that, right? So that's what they're so afraid to accept it, because they also will say, Uncle Tom Coon. Nobody's even read the book, Harriet Beecher Stowe's novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin. They don't even know that he was the hero in the novel, right? So it's an interesting thing to understand that they've been fed so much propaganda that they're willing to attack something where they take a second and say, let me just try to digest it. Let me just try to understand this perspective. Let me do my own research, because it takes just a small seed, like you and I. So the seed was planted and it grew overnight, because the facts are the facts. That's it. The facts are the facts. It's all there. So you have to be wittingly ignorant, especially in this era where there's so many different avenues, right? For them to understand, there's so many, we're the information age, everything. You can follow social media people, you can go onto Facebook, you can follow Fox News, you can go somewhere else. There's so much information out there. How are you so unwilling to just take a peek at what's going on the other side?
Yeah. It's true. And I think that we have to do this, and we have to perceptualize it and articulate our thoughts with love, love and passion. Now, sometimes we got to get on people's butts. I mean, it is what it is. My dad didn't just baby talk me through my whole life. Sometimes he had to get on my butt. Sometimes he had to sit me down and explain things to me. But I think that when we do it in love, and I've had conversations with people on the other side that felt different ways or whatever the case may be. And I tell them, like, listen, we supposed to be on the same team. We want what's best for the African-American community, as well as all communities in America. But if, discussing the Black community, we want what's best for the Black community. Why can't we sit down and stop pointing the finger and saying, well, you voted for a racist, or you on Fox News, or you a sellout? And let's look at the points that I'm making. A lot of people get mad at me because they don't like the fact that I'm addressing issues in the Black community. They're not mad at what I'm saying. They're mad at the way I'm saying it, or the fact that I'm being bold enough to say, I am the one who escaped I'm not saying, figuratively speaking, I'm the one who have escaped. And now I see the reality. And I do it like this, Candace. I look at it like the plantation. It's almost a parallel.
It is
the
exactly.
plantation had the slaves on the plantation.
Right.
And then when those who would escape, the plantation owner would tell the rest of them on the plantation, like, look, you don't want to go out there. If you leave there, you're going to be, let me put it like this. When slavery was abolished, right? When people could have a will to walk free, let me not say the slavery because, you get beaten, all this other stuff. But when people had the will to walk free, some of them walked and left. But the slave master would tell the ones who would remain is that you don't know how to read.
Right.
They're going to eat you alive out there. Like, you're not going to be accepted in the regular world. We feed you. We take care of you. Mm-hmm. We know you. We care about you. And we're going to be the ones that satisfy your needs. But then the people who escaped, they said, why would I work on your plantation when I can have my own plantation?
Right.
Why would I take your handouts when I can develop my own empire? And so you and I feel like, are the ones who left the plantation when we have our freedom and we realize that, man, master been lying to us all this time.
That's exactly what it's like. It's so funny because in my comments, someone said to me, you're like, a modern day Harriet Tubman. And it's like, but I can't imagine her getting back and telling people like there's freedom up north and everyone just goes, oh, you're an idiot, you're a coon, you're this. It's like, no, guys, this is crazy. Like, we're literally trying to guide you to freedom. I feel so free right now. And I resent with a deep resentment for the Democratic Party right now, right? And what they did, the fact that I bought into that for 26 years of my life, right? I'm angry about it, right? But I've been able to channel that anger into something productive and positive, and there's no stopping me. So I tell people, don't waste your time commenting and sending mean comments to me because I'm never coming back. Once you free a slave and they see the other side, they don't come back. Don't waste your time. Your time is better spent commenting on people that are still in chains. Really, people that are watching this and are saying, I hate you, Candace, and that, like, spend your time somewhere else. I am not coming back. This is the best feeling in the entire world. And something that you did, Brandon, which I'm sure, I don't know if many people know the story, but you and I went to dinner in Arizona and you were telling my family this, was Brandon went to a Trump rally. Like, that's why I tell people, if you really believe, right, that Donald Trump is a racist, a sexist, a misogynist, and everyone that surrounds him is a white nationalist, the best thing you can do for yourself is go confirm your bias. Go to a rally and just sit there and listen. See how the people treat you around. All you're doing is letting someone sell you your experience. You haven't had any experience. You haven't gone there. You haven't spoken to their supporters. You're literally letting CNN create a narrative and tell you what's real. That's a very brave thing you did. It wasn't the way that I did it, right? But now that when I heard that story of yours, I said to myself, anytime I hear something and I believe it to be true, I'm going to go ahead and experience it because it's not going to take you very long to figure out that you're at a KKK rally if it's real.
Yeah, that's true. I was expecting, to be honest, I was expecting to have a vibe, not necessarily. Look, I think some people will be kind of intimidated by me. They wouldn't just come out and call me the N-word and want to challenge me to a fight because they may think that they would lose. But, I thought that the energy at the rally would have been that way, but it wasn't. But the thing that you said and that I am reflecting is that we have to be open-minded, confirm what you believe, man. It's not enough to sit around and have a belief system without checking the other side. Any debate that I've ever been in, whether it's religion, whether it's cultural stuff, is that I watch CNN, I watch some of the opposing viewpoints so I can see where people are coming from, and then I can better address their questions when they ask me. So, but speaking of questions, I'm going to open it up to you guys. I think I had a few super chats, so I want to make sure that I give you guys a little bit of credit for super chats. Mike, thank you for the super chat. Said Christian hip hop is awesome. Thank you, O'Shea. I know O'Shea is watching. O'Shea gave a super chat earlier in the video. Thank you, O'Shea. I appreciate your show. You've had me on there a few times. So I'll do it like this. You guys feel free to ask any question that you would like of myself or Candace, or you want both of us to answer it. Please ask the questions, but understand that there's a lot of people in the comment section. If I miss your question, I apologize. One way that you can get your questions to the very top is if you want to utilize super chat, because it'll pop up and I'll see it. But I'll give you guys a time right now to try to ask a question of either myself or Candace. Make sure you put this is for Candace or Brandon or whatever when you ask your question. So, but I'm gonna keep talking a little bit while people ask their questions. But Candace, let me think of this. When you were, I guess to say, when you first decided that you were gonna think for yourself, and how did your parents respond? Because I met your dad and a couple of your family members, and we were having this discussion, and they don't seem to be drastically considered, the crazy leftists or anything like that, but they did have a diversity of opinion. How did they accept you when you finally came out to them and said, or when they start seeing the rhetoric that you were utilizing?
Right. So you met my family, so you know how they are. The Owens family is super relaxed. They're not crazy. They're not going to be like this or that, and they're driven by logic. And what I say is that for me, and I think for you and for my family, is they're sleepy liberals, right? They're not out there wearing a pussy hat saying this or that and this must be. It's just that you haven't had the time, right, to go out and explore another option. You might be open to it, but you really weren't given the platform, because what the left has also done successfully is that they've burdened our community with so many problems that we can't come up for air to even understand the issues that are at hand, right? For me, it was student loans. I started my life $100,000 in student loan debt, right? So I have cousins that have babies and are single mothers. Do you think they really care to dive into the issues of how welfare started when someone says to them, oh, you can sign up for welfare to take care of your kid? So I think for my family, they were interested. They were super interested in my perspective, and they started to explore it. And they've been largely supportive. And they definitely tell me to be careful. They think that the left is extreme and the right can get extreme. And that's absolutely right. I never tell everybody to don't be a Democrat, be a Republican. I say don't be so committed to this Democrat ideology unless you understand it, and be willing to be independent. What I advocate for every single day is independence. So that's what I hope people get from me. Yeah, I love Donald Trump. That's my personal opinion, right? You don't have to love him, but please don't tell me that you love Hillary Clinton as a Black person, because it doesn't make sense. If you understand what the Clintons did to Black people, it lets me know that you're extremely ignorant.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And in my family, it's the same thing. I had a Freedom Expo. I went to the Freedom Expo. I was the MC, and then I had a speech on the second day. And my dad came, and my stepmom came to the event, and they had to sit like 3 hours of conservatives talking and explaining conservatism, if that's even a word. And they had to sit and listen to it. And the funny thing is that they left the event understanding a little better and having a lot more respect for conservative people than they did previously. And I'll tell you this, and I don't mean to throw my family business out here, but I will anyway. It's not, I don't think it's a bad thing. But my stepmom pretty much said to me that they are actually conservatives who just vote Democrat. And it was the craziest thing in the world to me, but I understand where they're coming from, because Black culture is more conservative than it is liberal, in my opinion, because we go to church every Sunday. We are fiscally conservative. Like my dad and them are actually conservatives, but to vote for Donald Trump or to vote for a Republican, I mean, you will be shunned. Right. Some of my family members, they still, every time they see me, they talk about Trump. Some of them, they talk about Trump and they want to address certain issues. But the funny thing is, when they sit down and actually hear me explain this, and I'm saying this because I want other people who watch this, who may want to, take some notes on what it will be like when you actually tell your family how you really feel. Right. Is that when you sit and explain it to them with love, they understand you, they know you, they love you, they know that you're not a dummy. So right. When you explain it to them with love, and you have a solid foundation in which you're explaining it, they begin to really be like, well, I don't disagree with you. You kind of telling the story, So I think that's one of the best ways to do it, and that's some of the reactions that I've gotten.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to see if people want to ask questions, but thanks people, I guess they sleepy. Let's see. I'm surprised that they're not having some crazy questions. Let's see. Yeah, I'm okay. Those who believe. Let's see. How can we speak? Hold on, it's moving. How can we speak to those who believe in microaggression and white privilege from a point of love, and guard ourselves from getting into a boasting mentality of, oh yeah, I destroyed them? So I'm assuming that the question is that when you get into and I'll shoot it to you, Candace, when you get into I guess a discussion with a person who believes in microaggression and white privilege, how do you converse with them and not just feel like you're destroying them? Because, you know, when you actually talk to them and you speak common sense, you feel like, man, I just destroyed your whole argument.
Right.
How can you talk to them and perpetuate it as love, or make it feel like love, even though you're killing them in the discussion?
Well, I think that when you talk about microaggression, you're talking about people that have bought into this culture of love, so much love that you can avoid the truth, because if the truth makes you feel bad, right, then you have to stay away from it. So I'm actually really against this, like, you know, do it with gloves on approach. I really think it's important to be logical and to be consistent and to be strong and to question them, because even if they walk away feeling like, okay, you know, that didn't make me feel good, this person just destroyed me, that's good, right? Feeling that way is good because it makes you want to go get the facts. So the next time that you come to that person, you don't feel stupid, right? That's the beauty of being made to feel stupid, is that you never want to feel like that again, right? And that's where you win. The pursuit of facts is where you win. And so you don't need to be name calling. That's a game that the leftists play. There's no need to have these ad hominem attacks. I think it's very important to be strong with the truth, because we're getting into this culture where people are pretending this, you know, cultural Marxism, that facts are subjective, and facts are not subjective. All right, 1 + 1 = 2. There's no really polite way for me to say that to you. Well, Brandon, I understand how you feel that 1 + 1 = 3, but, you know, here's how it works. No, Brandon, 1 + 1 = 2, right? And that's been my approach. So I hope that helps.
No, it's a perfect example of, like, listen, and I think Ben Shapiro says this. Some other people say it. I don't know if he coined the term, but I remember hearing it from him first. But, like, facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, some people are logical. Like you and I think if somebody just flat out confronted us, like, boom, 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 these are the facts, I think we would be, you know, generally able to digest what they said and say, well, okay, I'm gonna form my own opinion and I'm gonna do some research, because I'm not gonna lie against the truth. But there are some people who, and those are the people who, you know, you plant the seed and you let it grow at some other time. And just to address the question of the argument thing, is that some people you don't have to argue with. Some people you don't have to discuss things with. You tell them the truth and then you walk away. You plant the seed and you let somebody else go water it.
Right.
But there are some people, like you said, Candace, and my friend did it to me the whole time I was advocating for Barack Obama. I even said, and don't laugh at me, I said that Barack Obama will go down in history as the best president of the United States. I don't know what kind of crack, methamphetamine combination I was smoking.
When he won the first time, I cried. I was like, this is change. I was one of those people, so I can't even play you. That was real, because we had bought it. We were just existing under this propaganda machine. I don't know what to say. I was there. I understand you. And that gives us a leg up, because we're coming from this place of we were there, right? We've already been there. We're telling you what the other side is like. They are there, and they don't want to hear anything about the other side, which is crazy.
Yeah, and so somebody asked us the question, Candace, have you lost friends? I'm not talking about, you know, fake people that just around you because they knew you in school. I'm talking about people who were your friends, like people you were close to. Have you lost friends who were relatively close to you because of your support or your newfound idea of conservative thought processes?
No, once I committed to these sort of conservative ideals, there was actually, what was happening before was there was a natural shedding of my friends that was happening, and I didn't really correlate that to my conservatism, right? I've always been a person that's been grounded in logic. I've always been a person that valued facts over feelings, and I would have so many issues with people who thought the other way. You know, they'd say, Candace, you're aggressive. How is the truth aggressive, right? Like, how is me telling you the truth, me being aggressive? And I would have all of these problems, and I would just think, man, like, I just like cannot get along with these girls. I have to pretend to be dumber. I would go home and say, like, to be friends with certain girls, I had to pretend to be dumber. And what I understood once I took that and applied it to the political realm I was in, I was just always a conservative. I just didn't know it. And I think that that's what a lot of Black people will find. I say, show me a Black person, and I'll show you a conservative that doesn't know it. This culture of microaggressions and tears and all of this stuff, and blue hair and not showering, right? It's very unique. It's very unique, but it's not really something that Black people as a culture, our community, would ever really buy into. So you have to understand they're just asleep right now, waiting for some people to just go, wake up. And I hope that we're the people that are just going, wake up. This is not working out for us. We're getting a bad end of the stick here.
Yeah, true. True. I bet that's how I feel like I was. My friend told me something that was really, really important to me. And he said, Brandon, I'm surprised that you voted Democrat and you support the Democratic Party when that goes against so many of your principles. And I remember like, yeah, but not everything they say is wrong, you know, and I remember thinking like that, but then rubber hit the road, and I was like, you know what? Like these are not my principles. These are not my core values that I grew up thinking about and understanding. So thanks. Let's see who this is. Singleton. Thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it. It says, thanks, Brandon and Candace, for taking this topic. So let's see who else we got. We only got a couple more minutes, y'all. I'm not going to be on here all day. I know y'all want to see Candace all day, but I'm not going to be on here all day. We got about I'll just do it an hour. We got about another 15 minutes. And so I know a lot of y'all probably asking questions and I'm missing it because it's going too fast. But let's see. Okay. Oh my God. I ain't gonna even read that question. Somebody asked me, when am I gonna propose to you because I met your parents?
Yeah, every time I appear with any guy, I find out the next day that I'm getting married to them. So I've got so many people I'm getting married to.
Some of these people are crazy. Let's see. Somebody asked, let's see, who is this? Another super chat. Malcolm, you didn't write anything, but I appreciate the super chat. Thanks for the topic from David, super chat. Thank you so much. I want you guys to ask some questions. Let's see.
You're enjoying the discussion. We're answering the questions naturally.
Yeah, I know. They're just going all in.
The nail on the head here.
Let's see. Does she love Jesus? Is what they asked me about you.
This is so funny, actually. I'm gonna do a sidebar anecdotal story just to talk about how, because people ask me all the time, like, are you know, now that you're on the right, are there extremes on the right? And the answer is yes, there is extreme on the right. So I'm not going to pretend that doesn't exist. But this, I had written on Christmas. I wrote Merry Christmas on Twitter, and I wrote Merry Christmas on Facebook, and then I included a photo on Facebook, and I posted again, and I wrote Merry Xmas. And these people went like nuts. Like, I mean, this is like a full-on debate. People were like, she doesn't believe in Jesus, blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, like she used Xmas. I didn't even know this was like a debate. Like, I'm from LOL generation. The fastest we can get that out, you know, is how we do it. Like Merry Xmas. If I could take away the Mary and put Xmas, like I'm going to put it. But the answer is yes. Of course, I believe in Jesus. I'm very religious. I grew up in a super pious family, which I'll talk about in another PragerU video that I shot. That'll be coming out in about a month. My grandfather raised me, like we used to have to read the prayers every single morning, read the Bible and scriptures. Like he's from down south, and he just was very religious. And yeah, so I'm religious. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. And that's that. It's just my perspective. And what's interesting about that, another thing to add to this, which is another discussion, which you'll find fascinating, Brandon. I did an event with Charlie Kirk, and he talked about this atheism that seems to be like persevering in our culture now, people that don't believe in God. And we're noticing that the left kind of promulgates this, right? They laugh when you talk about God. Joy Behar makes fun of Christians. And you have to ask yourself why they do that. And the truth is because all of us, we're naturally spiritual beings. It's why we stop and get our palm read, right? Because we want to believe in something more. We know that there's like something more. It's almost like innate inside of all of us. It's why we're so fascinated with like David Blaine and all these magic tricks. The left understands that, right? So they try to take that away, because what happens when you take away things that are spiritual, like the family, when you take away the concepts of God, is people will still naturally pursue that. And the left wants the government to be your God. That's really what it comes down to. So when you lose your relationship with God, you lose your relationship with your family, you will still turn to something to be the source. And what we are seeing happen in our communities is that they are turning to the government as the source and the sort of omniscience and omnipotence. And that's something that needs to stop immediately.
Dang, that's a good, you need to make a video about that, because that's a concept that I thought about, but I just haven't really went that far. That's exactly what they want. You know, they want the government to tell them or dictate to them what morality is. You know, like they say the government has now sanctioned for gay marriage to be appropriate or whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying people can have their opinion about that. But what I'm saying is that they want the government to say, okay, it's a governmental standard, then everybody should accept it.
Right.
You know, because there's 1,500 genders that people want to subscribe to. The normal people probably don't. Maybe normal people think of maybe a few, but there's people out here that probably think there's 15 different gender combinations.
Right.
Most normal people think that that's bizarre. But if the government stamps and seals it.
And people start worshiping it, and that's a scary thing. And we have to start talking about that. The left is trying to make the government become God in people's lives, and it is successfully working. We are seeing that happen in the Black community. So I am like, I 100% I believe in God. I do not believe the government is a source of anything in my life. And it's so important that people understand that that's what's happening when you break down these certain ideals, is that you're going to start to look to something else, and that something else cannot be the government.
All right, perfect. One more question. Let's see, we got a question. Malcolm found out how to do the question. Let me explain this real quick, and then I'm gonna explain the question. If you guys want a super chat, in the comment section, there's a little $sign that's next to the comment section. You can write the question in there, hit that, and it'll send you to do a super chat. If you want to just ask the question, just ask it regularly. I'll try to find it in the comment section. But Malcolm, he just asked the question. Thank you, Brandon and Candace, for this very important discussion. Do you think that boycotting hip hop music is a viable or even desirable option? I'll answer it and I'll shoot it to you, Candace. I think that it should be. Let me say it like this. I do not allow my son to listen to any music with cursing in it. That's just my opinion. He's young, 7 years old. I don't listen to that stuff, and I don't have him listen to it. I would not support him listening to hip hop music. Now, he can, when he get older, he can make his own decision. I don't want to play God in his life because he's going to have to learn somehow. I personally don't like the music. I don't support the music. I would not purchase the music for him. Now, when he get a little older, I'll let him have some flexibility. My parents did it to me. I listened to Tupac all my life, and so I'll let him make his own decisions. While he's little, I don't support it. I will never pay for it for him. I will never pay for him to go to a concert, in my opinion. His mama can do it. I'm not doing it. And so that's my opinion about it. I don't purchase rap music because, at least I don't purchase from the people I know who are killing us. The good artists, somebody that's rapping about something that help people become consciously aware, some poetic genius that I see, I will support them. Let me make sure that's clear. I will support people who are doing it the right way, people who are rapping about stuff that are speaking positivity into the minds of our children, into my mind. Anything else, I do not support. If people want to boycott hip hop music, I think they should start making it a point to call out people who are being detrimental to the community. And I think that it's a valuable option that we should do. Kind of like the bus boycott. You stop riding the bus, they're going to start changing the laws. When they start losing money, they start changing the laws. If these rappers weren't getting millions and millions of dollars to tell you to stab people, kill people, sell dope, I guarantee you they're not going to stop making music. They're just going to change their rhetoric. And that's just my opinion on it. What do you think, Candace? So I agree with you. I would say I would be against the concept of boycotting, because I can see how easily the left will interpret that and say, we're boycotting blackness, right? It's a racist boycott. So no, but what you said here is very important. You said, I don't allow my son to listen to it. People need to go back to this, need to understand that you control what goes on in your household. This is talking about the family unit again. Ben Shapiro did a video recently, on whether the government should ban video games, right? And he said he disagreed with it because as the father, he doesn't allow his child to play violent video games. He does not need a government entity to tell him yes or no, right? The exact same thing. We need to start understanding that we have the power in our own household to dictate what we want people to take in, what they want them, not to take in. And for me, as I said, if I have children, they're going to be watching what I grew up, Sister, Dr. Huxtable, that sort of thing, because I am the decision. I don't need the government entity, and I don't need a boycott to dictate what goes on in my household. Right. Perfect. I mean, God dang, I agree with almost everything you say. Maybe because we both have a common sense brain. I mean, it's common sense. This is not some philosophy stuff that you got to read in all these textbooks where you sit down and just get knowledge in. It's like common sense. Like if somebody's telling you, kill this N, N being the N word, kill this N, shoot this person, have 5 or 6 girls up in your hotel room and on Molly and coffee and all kinds of stuff that people say. Just do a common sense analysis and say, if that is being perpetuated and that's being infiltrated into the minds of young people, what is that going to do residually? Just like if you sit down and you read a textbook that's teaching you about moral standards, or you're reading the Bible, that is gonna infuse your brain with knowledge and positivity. So the same thing can be applied to music. If you listening to peaceful music that is speaking life into you, like I love gospel music, if it's speaking life into you, then why wouldn't you continue to utilize that? You don't have to be a brain specialist to understand how the brain works. You can even do an experiment on your own. You can listen to positive, encouraging music, listen to Christian music or something for 30 days. Then go listen to Lil Boosie, listen to Kevin Gates, listen to some of these hardcore thugged out rappers for 30 days. You will find yourself probably being a little more aggressive. And another thing, this is two things that I want. And I'll say this, Candace, I'll shoot it to you. Just two things. If you could pick two things, what would you tell? And I'll shoot it to you first. If you can tell rappers to stop rapping about two things, and I know this is kind of like on the spot. Right. If you could tell rappers to stop rapping about two things, what would it be?
It would be multiple women. I think that's a huge problem when we talk about the breakdown of the family, and that the men do not take pride in having one woman and being one father and, you know, being a good role model. And I would definitely say drugs. We have to stop making drugs cool.
The drugs? Right.
Yeah. That culture of I'm sipping, you know, from my whatever cup and doing this and smoking this and all that stuff, because I feel strongly, by the way, I'm somebody that I'm totally fine if you want to smoke marijuana and do their thing. But I believe that is not a gateway, people say, to other drugs. But I think worse than that is it's a gateway to failure, right? Because all the people that I knew smoking pot in college were sitting doing nothing but laughing and eating, you know, food. So it's a gateway to failure. So I think we have to stop glorifying that. What about you?
Yeah, I think that we have to start glorifying the prison mentality, the prison, like going to prison, glorifying what it means for you to do time. You know, I've been upstate and all this other stuff that people say. We have to stop glorifying it and start telling the truth about prison life. I know people that have done. My friend did 19 years in prison. You know, and it ain't cool. You know, listening to grown men getting raped every night or every other night, it ain't cool. You know. Wondering if you're going to live or die, sitting in a box, having to wash your clothes or rinse your face off with water you drink out of, and you pee in the toilet. You probably have to use toilet water for stuff. It's like, and somebody telling you when to come and go, take a shower, not take a shower. You know, that stuff ain't cool. And, you know, the rappers make it sound cool. I wish that they would tell the truth about prison. So then people will realize if I do X, Y, Z and I go to prison, it's not going to be cool. I'm not going to come out with my pride. I'm not going to come out and think I'm going to live free again because of the recidivism rate and all these other things that are contributing factors. Another thing that I will tell them would be, I want to say the drugs, but I'm going to find another one. I think that on lines of promiscuity, I want them to stop making it sound cool to be hitting all kind of different women. You know what I'm saying? And I think you kind of reiterated that with the multiple women. I want them to stop making it cool having this hit list. You know, like, oh, I didn't hit this type of woman, this woman, this woman. I'm hitting a different woman every night. Because what they're not telling you is that if you get AIDS or if you get some STD you can't get rid of, that is not cool. You know, these rappers aren't telling you when they get burnt. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, and then when you have a kid with somebody you don't love, somebody who, you know, isn't supportive of your lifestyle, or somebody who's crazy that may go to prison, you know, may leave you by yourself. You be a single parent. Like, they're not telling you to fall out. They don't. And as men, and mostly these male rappers, they're not telling you about child support, because you mess around and you mess with some chick that you don't love and y'all don't plan on being together. When you make money, your money is gone. Right. Just as much as you get in is gone.
And it's just like it comes back down to when we're talking about like religion, that sort of thing. I think there's nothing more sacred than like the relationship between a man and a woman. And there's nothing sexier than a man that's faithful to a woman, like, you know, who just is absolutely crazy about her. And I think that taking away from that, there's something that's very like, you know, anti-spiritual about it. And I think it's a return to just understanding that that's not the way we were meant to live as human beings, you know?
No, 100%. And I think that, you know, when we look at our society and we look at the drag of our morality, and you hit the nail on the head about the left, you know, trying to take religion out of people's lives and making them depend on the government. The same thing is relationships. Like they want you to think it's bizarre. And I'm gonna look at this for a minute. I got to get these super chats in here, but they want you to think that it's bizarre to love, you know, for you to be a man and a woman together, to be faithful, to be to have those roles of husband and wife. Like they want you to I guess live promiscuously. See, this is my belief system, and you can comment on it if you want to, Candace. Like, I honestly believe like people should start taking that relationship thing serious. You know, if you're gonna be with somebody, you need to be faithful to that person, and you need to be thinking about building. You don't need to be thinking about, oh, she fine, she got a big booty or whatever. I don't know what women think about men or whatever. He's good looking, big, nice chest or whatever. Right. You need to be really serious about your pursuit moving forward, because that can be life and death for your career. You mess around with a person who just cute, but they don't have any moral standards, they don't have the longevity, then you're gonna end up not making it anywhere in life. And the left want to tell you, have fun, it's your life, date around, do whatever you want. And then when it hit the fan, they want to say, oh, come to the government, we'll take care of you.
Help you. We know how that happens. Yeah, exactly.
So I missed a couple of these super chats. Let me see if somebody had a question. I think just people comment. Somebody said, what's up to you, Candace? Said, thank you for coming on the show. Let me see if I can go back and find these, because sometimes they stay on here for a little bit. Let's see. Another person sent a super chat with nothing behind it. So, but thank you so much, guys, for the super chat. Let's see. We got 2 minutes left. I want to say a special thank you to Candace for coming on the show. I really appreciate you coming on to my little platform.
No, of course. Look, I'm telling you, like, first off, you were one of the people that just didn't hate on me early on out of the gate. Like, you just were a normal person. And I was like, thank goodness, because I got so much hate in the beginning from people. And it was a lot to come from the left, but it was like also coming from the right. And the worst was coming from Black people. I was like, gosh, there's so few Black conservatives right now. Like, we have to build bridges and all help each other out, because this message is so much bigger. Like, it has to be like, none of us can have an ego. Like, that's how I genuinely feel. Like, there's so few of us that are willing to go out there and take the hits and be called what we're called every single day. That if we're not taking it seriously and building bridges, like, we're not going to have, this is like life or death in terms of the Black community, like you said earlier.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I think one of the reasons why, and I don't think I've ever had a chance to tell you this, but one of the reasons why is because, just like you said, I'm like, I'm not finna jump because somebody was saying something about the website, the docs and BS. And I was like, man, I'm not jumping until I listen to what Candace said about it. I want to hear what she had to say. I'm not going to watch somebody else that's hating, that want publicity and fame and making these videos and monetizing them just to bash somebody else, because that's all people really want is drama. I said, I'm gonna listen to what she had to say, and then I'm gonna go and do my own evaluation. I said, but I'm not gonna say nothing until I actually do my research and hear it from Candace herself. So when I listened to you on the Rubin Report, I think, and you explained it from top to bottom, I said, why is people making videos and trying to slander Candace, especially conservatives? I forget the rest of the people. They're going to say stuff about you. They're going to make up stuff about you. But other conservatives really bothered me when they tried to paint the picture. And this is the reason why, and I hate to say this, it came from a lot of Black conservatives, which was shocking to me.
But it's not, when you think about our community, a huge problem that we have is like on the left, right? Is Black people don't like Black success. They don't know how to digest it. Like, they feel like there can only be one of us that can be successful. And when the Black person gets successful, they want to take it down. And I'm like, this is the problem, because when you think about the Jewish community, and I always say this, just a shiny example, they don't do that. They are all about building bridges. This is why they are so successful. They are always helping each other out. And we've lost that in the Black community. It becomes this game like there can only be one Black conservative, which is crazy. There's a wide market for Black conservatism right now, but there's not that many of us that are having the courage to speak out and say what we believe. So it was really unfortunate. That was like, the rest of it was like, whatever, it's noise. But I thought it really sucked when I saw some like Black YouTubers jump in on it, because I was like, man, like, my whole thing, and with like the summit that I'm doing, is like, all I wanted to do was build the first real young Black conservative bridge, right? So it was unfortunate, but you learn lessons. And I think when you shoot in the way that I did, it just happens. It just naturally happens that people don't know how to process it, and their instinct is to hate it before they even understand it. So,
and I think that God know how to put people in your life or surround you with people who are quality people, because it'll suck even more if you were working with somebody or you were friends with somebody and then they turned on you like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, people from the outside, you can know right off the bat as your movement gets started that, oh, I ain't fooling with them. You know what I'm saying? Instead of them being a part of your movement.
Right.
And then
it did help. It did help. I was like, this person, if they get a bigger platform, they will just create drama, and that's the last thing we need. So it actually did in the end. It was a blessing in disguise. So, but thank you, honestly, because you were totally cool from the beginning. So.
Yeah, awesome. So one more question, Candace. One more question, and we operate. Somebody got a super chat. They said, how irreversible are the effects of rap and collectivism in the Black community? And so just make it, you can make it real quick. We don't have to go all day about it, but just how irreversible is the effects of rap and
I don't think it's irreversible. Again, it goes back to what we said. We just have to give them a different option, right? When we stop making them go for goals that are like, the chances of becoming an NBA player, chances of becoming a successful rapper are slim to none. We start getting them to focus on new goals, and we start giving them new idols, and we start presenting them with a different perspective. We're going to see it happen like very quickly. So I think that's what we're doing right now.
K Kim, thank you so much, K Kim, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Candace, I know probably most people that's on here know who you are and know where to find you, but let my audience know where they can find your conservative thought process and all of your videos and some of the things that you're doing moving forward.
You guys can check out my Facebook page at Real Candace Owens. I'm on Twitter all the time talking smack. The handle is at Real Candace O. And I'm also on Instagram at Real Candace Owens. And my YouTube videos, you can start from the beginning and sort of see my process in the last 6 months. It's been a really cool ride.
It's awesome. Thank you, Candace, so much. I know you're a busy woman. You got a lot to do. So I'll see you later. We should do this again.
Absolutely. We'll have you at the Black Leadership Summit. So we'll be in touch soon. And we're doing an event together in Waco, Texas or something.
Yeah. Is it? Let me see. That's in May.
May 2nd, maybe.
I think May the 3rd is exactly the date.
Yeah. So I'll see you there.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thank you. See you later. Peace.
Bye.